Trying to failure is common parlance in the fitness world, but what is the best praxis of that ethos? Step one, as with anything, understanding. There are many different types of failure, many of which have valid places in different training principles or training objectives. The main failure mechanisms are technical failure, absolute failure, volitional failure, and what's the last one? Mechanical, there you go, mechanical failure. Technical failure is form breakdown, where you could perform another rep, you could move that weight from A to B, but it wouldn't be safe to do so, or it wouldn't resemble the exercise anymore. Take doing a bicep curl, right? If I'm swinging up at the end, putting a bit more English on it, which occasionally, when used sparingly, is valid training, but it is technical failure, right? If I can't do this anymore, I'm at technical failure. Absolute failure is when I am going so hard that I physically cannot do it anymore. Essentially, the ultimate form of absolute failure is dropping dead on the gym floor. It's not generally recommended to incorporate that into a regular training program, because then I have to clean it up. Volitional failure is, I'm tired, I'm gonna stop the set, or okay, it says I was gonna do 12 reps today, I've done 12, I'm done. As part of planned progressive overload training, that is perfectly valid. Mechanical failure is, I can no longer overcome this resistance, even giving 100% effort, without breaking down my form. The most useful failure mechanism for me in my training and in my PT work is mechanical failure, largely because it is the most identifiable form of failure. The other failure mechanisms are ambiguous at best. When is the exact point of technical failure in a bicep curl? Is it when my spine extends at all? I don't know. Mechanical failure is useful because of this. Let's take any exercise, hypothetically, but in this case, a bicep curl, right? Dumbbell bicep curl. What is happening is my biceps brachii, brachialis are generating force, right? They are generating a certain amount of force in this muscle to produce flexion of the forearm at the elbow. In my hand here, I'm holding a certain amount of resistance. Now, this resistance is staying static. Let's say I've got a 10-kilo dumbbell in my hand. That resistance is always 10 kilos. So we want about the lever, the weight itself is 10 kilos. Hello, you're welcome to come in. While this resistance is staying the same, the force generated by this muscle is becoming lesser and lesser. The capacity of this force to be greater than this resistance gets less and less as the set progresses. The consequence of that is that when this force gets closer to the value provided by this resistance, the movement will slow down. And this happens when you approach mechanical failure with every single exercise. When you approach mechanical failure, the weight will slow down. And this is something that I use as a PT to identify when my clients are close to mechanical failure. It is the speed at which they can perform the repetition. Bottom line being, mechanical failure is my training objective. Not just because it's important to me being training for sarcoplasmic hypertrophy or size of musculature, but also because it's a very useful self-mediating method of implementing progressive overload. What I do is I give myself a rep range. Let's take a barbell bench press, for example. I'll say that I'm going to fail somewhere between 6 and 14 repetitions. Fairly wide range. If I get to 14 repetitions and the weight is not slowing down, I know that that weight is too light. If my 14th rep looks exactly the same as my first, I need to use more weight because I am not at mechanical failure. If I kept going, I can guarantee you that my failure mechanism would be volitional, or likely technical, but it would be a buildup of lactic acid, it would be technical failure, stopping for safety. When the failure mechanism that I want is the slowing of the repetition. So the most important thing that I observe and that I use to track my training is I'm never training for a specific amount of reps. I've never written down, okay, today I'm going to do 10, 11, 12, whatever it might be. Instead, I'll give myself a range in which I'm training, generally somewhere between 6 and 14. And I make sure that I use a weight that allows me to reach mechanical failure within that rep range. And I identify that by looking at the speed at which the bar is moving. If I'm giving 100% effort and the bar is slowing down, That is mechanical failure. So in summary, look at your training, look at your exercises. Are there exercises that you are doing where your final lap, where you stop the set, is just as fast as your first lap? If so, up the weight. You can use more weight because bar speed, or the speed at which the weight is moving, is one of the best indicators and one of the best training advisors as to what weight you should be using. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you found this educational. Please do check out workoutways.co.uk for more info about my coaching and PT services. And until next time, farewell.